Good morning, you glorious over 3,000 people and the 83% who have yet to subscribe. Today, we're going to have a little look at the Orruk Ironjaws, the big green menace, and what they're going to do in 4th edition. Okay, so the way I'm going to do this is the Ironjaws and the Crew Boys are mixed into the Orruk WarChans faction pack. So I am going to do a separate video for each, the Crew Boys and the Ironjaws. So we're going to be kicking off this one with the Ironjaws first, and their battle traits are the following. So once per turn, army, any hero phase, mighty destroyer. Pick a friendly Ironjaws unit that has not yet set up this turn to be the target. Okay. Oh, sorry. Yes. So basically, you can't teleport them in the hero phase and do your stuff and then target them. So they have to already be on the board. The target can move up to 3 inches. It can move into combat. If it was in combat at the start of the move, and it must end that move in combat. So basically what that means is if you're outside of 3 inches of an enemy model, you can move into combat. Why is this good? There's a lot of reasons. 1, you're not going to get shot at. 2, you're not going to get shot at. 3, you're also not triggering a charge, which also then means that you're ignoring the counter charge command ability being used on you. So yeah, you're kind of sort of like getting through in, yeah, okay, you're not charging yourself, but that's fine. You're in combat already. And then you can start smashing and bashing. The whole thing is, if it was in combat at the start of the move, it must end in that move. It kind of just means that you can sort of move around, potentially even sort of move around the unit's combat radius, and potentially tag another unit in combat. So if you're playing an army like Cities of Sigmar and you have managed to get into their screen, you're able to use this and get around and tag those Fusiliers in the back that might be in a fortified position and then unable to shoot at you in the shooting phase because they're in fortified, and then having to then do a retreat move to get out of it, to then be able to shoot the next turn. And bear in mind that this is any hero phase, so you can do this in your opponent's phase as well, which is kind of nice. So you were able to sort of do some movement shenanigans in their hero phase as well, which is kind of cool. So once per battle, your charge phase, wah, I'm not going to do wah because everyone's in the house. Pick a friendly Ironjaws hero to be the target for the rest of the turn. The following effects apply to friendly Ironjaws units while they are wholly within 18 inches of the target. You add 1 to the charge for those units and 1 to the attack characteristics for those units. It's only once a battle, and it's a big wah. You get more attacks, you get better charge, you get angry, you become a big brute type thing. And we gotta love to see it. This is what all players love, and you know, you always tell the Orc players that are really invested in the faction because you will hear them scream at the top of their voice, wah, and I think that should be in the rules. Same as Khorne players doing press-ups and flexing in front of you, screaming blood for the Blood God. Next up, we have the battle formations. The battle formations are incredibly important when it comes to building your army. It is the rule, the sub-faction rule, which will shape how your army is made. And we have 4, like all of them. So we have the Ironjaws Brawl. If you make an unmodified charge rule of an 8+ for a friendly non-hero Ironjaws unit, add 1 to the attack characteristics of this unit's melee attacks for the rest of the turn. Pretty good. +1 on an 8+ charge. Are you always going to get that? Maybe not, but we'll see what the units look like, and maybe there's a build there for this formation. Grunters Pigs. Well, obviously this is for the Mob Grunters and the Go Grunters, so pigs and cabbages. Add the number of enemy units that has been destroyed this battle to the move characteristic of friendly Go Grunters and more Crusher units to a maximum of 4+. That is really cool. So the more enemy units destroyed, the faster your Go Grunters and more Grunters get. That's pretty fun. That could be good. Iron Fists, smashing and bashing. So this used to be an ability that the army used to have. It was like a rule that basically if you destroyed a unit in combat, you immediately got to fight with another Orc unit. But now it's a battle formation. So the first time each turn that an enemy unit is destroyed by a fight ability by a friendly Ironjaws unit, add 1 to hit rolls for combat attacks made by the next Ironjaws unit that is picked to use a fight ability for the rest of the turn. That's pretty good. +1 to hit is pretty nice. And I'm sure that we'll see that this might be beneficial for some units as we go through their war scrolls. Weird Fist. Got to get the weirdy boys. Friendly infantry Ironjaws units have a 6-up ward save while they're wholly within 12 inches of any friendly Ironjaws priests or wizards. Cool. That's nice. Obviously, looking at this, I quite like Natural Destroyer, but an 8+ is a little bit iffy. You're not always going to get that. The Stampede is really quite nice, especially if you take a lot of pigs and more Grunters. And the Iron Fist is pretty cool. The Weird Fist, no, it's not a point. You want to be smashing people in the face with an Ironjaws army. Next up, we have the hero traits and the artifacts. These are the abilities that you give to your heroes, non-unique heroes, and you can use one, and they're like enhancements for you 40k players. So, first one, Hulking Brute, any charge phase. If this unit charged this turn, pick an enemy unit within 1 inch of it to be the target. Roll a d3. On a 2+, inflict that amount of mortal damage on the target. If the unit's unmodified charge roll this turn was 8+, roll a d6. So basically, your hero is going to be doing d6. If you roll an 8+ on your charge roll, it does 8d6 mortal damage instead of a d3. So basically, you're still rolling a 2+, but you're essentially doing a d6 roll instead of a d3. That's pretty cool. So the next one is an Eye for Defight. So reaction, you declared the redeploy command for a friendly Ironjaws unit wholly within 12 inches of this unit. If you roll a 1 and 3 when determining the distance of the move, you can move a value of 4 instead. So you're guaranteed a 4-inch move for your redeploy, which is nice. Passive, Mega Bossy. If this unit charges this turn, for the rest of the turn, add 1 to the charge rolls for friendly Ironjaws units while they're wholly within 18 inches of this unit. I like that. That's kind of nice. I like that one. For me, I like the charge, I like Hulking Brute, and I like Mega Bossy. They're quite good. Passive abilities are always quite nice. Obviously, it's only if you charged, but it still gives +1 charge to things within 18 inches. And if you stick this on a Maw Crusher, like Maw Crushers have got pretty big bases anyway, and then you've got an 18-inch bubble around that, so you can really sort of overlap a lot of the army, which is quite good. Ironjaws Artifacts of Power. Passive, Trophy of Skulls. Add 10 to this unit's control score. Yeah, brilliant. Brilliant. So, yeah, he's just going to be... put it on a Maw Crusher, and then you're going to have, like, stupid amounts of control. So you're always going to get that as well. Plus, he's going to kill most things that he gets in combat with. Yay. Next, we have Armor of Gork. So you basically stick this on a hero, and he gets a 6-up ward save. Quite nice. And then Armor being Wraithstone, so pick one of the unit's weapons and add 1 to the rend characteristic of that weapon for the rest of the battle. I love things like that. I love things like items that enhance weaponry and things like that. That's really, really kind of cool. And it's kind of really old school fantasy, so I really like that one. +1 rend as well is really good. Next up, we have the Ironjaws Spell Law. And these are going to be done by your weird knobs, the weird sort of wizardy, shamany orcs in the rags and the big stick with smoke. So, they've got 3 spells. In your hero phase, bash 'em lads. Pick a friendly Ironjaws wizard to cast this spell. Pick a visible friendly Ironjaws unit wholly within 12 inches of them to be the target, and make a casting roll of 2d6. The target's melee weapons have crit 2 hits for the rest of the turn. Cast on 6. You know, double hits on 6s. It's not bad. It's not worse. It's not bad, but it's not great. Mighty Headbutt. Nice. Pick a friendly Ironjaws wizard to cast the spell. Pick a visible enemy unit within 18 inches of them to be the target and make a casting roll of 2d6. Inflict d3 mortal damage on the target. If the target is a wizard, inflict 3 mortal damage instead. Cool. Casting on 6, d3 mortal damage, not bad. And if it's a wizard, it does a flat 3. Cool. That's cool. Then we've got the Great Big Hand of Gork, and probably a classic spell for the Ironjaws. Pick a friendly Ironjaws wizard to cast it. Pick a visible friendly unit wholly within 9 inches of them and not in combat to be the target. Then make a casting roll of 2d6, needing a 7. Remove the target from the battlefield and set it up again wholly within 24 inches of the caster and more than 9 inches from all enemy units. Now, the reason why this is here, and obviously the other trait that we read earlier about smashing Mighty Destroyer, is we can't then do this and then Mighty Destroyer that unit once it lands on the other side to get within 9 inches. That was a 2nd edition thing that you could do, and it was amazing because you used to get 15 buffed up brutes from WarChanters, pick them up, teleport them down the board within 9 inches of the enemy, and then Mighty Destroyer them d6 forward. Or Mighty Destroy them in a charge with a charge roll, and then get in combat in the hero phase. So yeah, you could do that. But over the years, we've slowly had that stripped away to stop you from doing a lot of things like that. So now you can pick up a unit, but the thing to take away from this is Ironjaws have a teleport spell, which is really, really good. So that's good for getting a unit into the backfield of an army, really to threaten a deep objective in the enemy deployment zone. And you've got utility now for going around the board. It is cast on a 7, and if you're coming up against armies that, like, you know, Seraphon, who have board-wide dispels, Techless, Nagash, stuff like that, you're going to have a hard time getting this off because, you know, he's just a little weird knob that's trying to cast it. But if you do, you know, the world's your oyster. Those orcs are coming. Okay, Ironjaws prayer. So obviously the war boss, the war beaters, WarChanters are basically priests, and this is where they get their little chance from. So in your hero phase on a 4, we've got beat 'em, get 'em beat. So pick a friendly Ironjaws priest, WarChanter. To chant the prayer, pick a visible friendly Ironjaws unit wholly within 12 inches and be the target, and make a chanting roll of a d6. Until the start of your next turn, add 1 to the charge rolls for the target. In addition, if the chanting roll was an 8+, add 1 to the number of dice rolls when making charge rolls for the target to a maximum of 3. Really nice. I've seen this in quite a few armies, so it's not massively unique to the orcs, but it's pretty cool. 3d6 charging is really nice, especially when you've got crazy pigs and cabbages flying around everywhere. Next, you got Fix It Beat. So pick a friendly Ironjaws priest to chant. Pick a visible friendly Ironjaws unit wholly within 12 for them to be the target, and make a chanting roll, again needing a 4. Heal d6 the target. If the chanting roll was an 8+, heal d3 plus 3 on the target instead. The reason why that's d3 plus 3 is because that's a guaranteed heal of 4, where obviously a d6 is anything from 1 to 6. So it just makes the chances of a better heal a little bit better. So it's good. So your hero phase, kill it beat. Pick a friendly Ironjaws priest to chant this prayer. Pick a visible friendly Ironjaws unit wholly within 12 inches of them to be the target. Then make a chanting roll of d6. Add 1 to the damage characteristics of the target's melee weapons for the rest of the turn. If the chanting roll was an 8+, you can pick up to 2 eligible units to be the target instead of 1. Nice. Nice, nice, nice. That's pretty good. So +1 damage, and if it's a chanting roll over an 8, then you can pick 2 targets instead of 1. pretty good. So basically what this is these were like, you used to bring your war chanters, and then you used to give them one of these prayers, and then they would have that. But now they're access to all of them. So you gotta remember, war chanters are pretty good now, because rather than just being singled down to the war scroll one and then one other one, they basically now have access to all of the beats. So they're beaten and retreating. So first up for the war scrolls, we have Godra, the Fist of Gork. Now, Godra is a named character for the Ironjaws, and you will find him in the Maw Crusher kit. The options of building Godra as the rider, and then you can kind of give it a really pretty of a different cool head on the cabbage. But he is a war master, he is unique, he is a hero, a monster, and he flies. He has a 3-up save, respectable, 10-inch move, 20 health, 5 control. And he has a big Teeth's Roar at 8-inch range, 6 attacks, hitting on a 2s, wounding on a 3s, no rend, 1 damage, but can shoot in combat, and it is a companion attack. So, melee weapons, Smashers and Cunning, 8 attacks, nice. Hitting on 3s, wounding on 2s, -1 rend, 2 damage, anti-hero +1 rend, and then we've got the big Teeth's Big Fists. Now, bear in mind that this starts off at 8 attacks, but if you have 10 or more damage, you will drop down to 6. Has hits on 4s, wounds on 2s, rend of 1, damage 3. Anti-monster +1 rend. Now, bearing in mind, the hitting on because it's a companion attack, all of the +1 hits and things that we have already talked about will not affect this, but all-out attack does. So all-out attacking will drop this down to a 3, which is quite good. So he has a couple of abilities. So first up for his main abilities, we have Monster Grapple. So pick an enemy monster in the combat with this unit to be the target. Roll a dice on a 3+. Pick one of the target's weapons. You must pick a companion weapon, if it has any. Half the attack's characteristics of that weapon rounding up for the rest of the turn. So you pick an enemy monster, has companions. So basically, if you go to someone like, we'll use Archeon as an example. You pick Archeon because he has the monster keyword, and then you roll a 3+, and then you half the companion attacks. So not Archeon, but the actual big 3-headed crazy horse dragon thing that he rides. Half of his companion attacks get halved, which is pretty decent, because when you look at big monster characters like this, a lot of the damage tends to come out of the mount. Like if you look at Talia for the cities of Sigmar, like she only has 6 attacks, but her weapon damage is like 2 and 1 rend, where a lot of the big damage 3 and potentially damage 4 is all coming from the actual Chimera itself. So to half those weapons is halving that amount of damage, which is really quite nice to do. So once per battle, reaction, you declared a Wah. So ability. So this is going to buff your Wah. Voice of Gork. Until the start of your next turn, add 1 to the hit rolls for combat attacks made by friendly Ironjaws units while they are wholly within 18 inches of this unit. Yeah, +1 a hit and +1 attack if you've got Godra in your army. And I really should probably get the points up. So Godra is coming in at a whopping 450 points, which to be fair is not too bad. So, you know, for 450 points, you're going to basically get a character 30 points more than a normal mega boss on a cabbage, and he's going to basically essentially give you +1 a hit and +1 to hit when you Wah. So the end of any turn, you have strength from victory. So if any damage points were allocated to an enemy unit by this unit's combat attacks this turn, and that enemy unit had been destroyed, give this unit a Wah token to a maximum of 3 until the end of the next turn. Add 1 to the attack characteristics of this unit's weapons for each Wah token it has. So unlike this is kind of nerfed a little bit. So what you used to have on mega bosses is every time they killed a unit, they gained basically an attack and a health, and you used to sort of go up in health and used to go up in attacks. Now that's kind of capped at 3, and it's only until the end of your turn. So it sounds like you, at the end of your turn, you lose those war points, all right, and you don't get them. So yeah, it's okay. For 450 points, he's pretty good, but we'll see what he's like compared to the normal. Okay, so if you need to save those points and you want to bring a normal cabbage would come in at 420 points. Hero, monster, fly. It's a mega boss on a cabbage, Maw Crusher, basically. 3-up save, movement of 10, only has a health of 18 rather than 20, control of 5. So again, it has the Maw Crusher's Roar, so it's got a range of 8, 6 attacks, 2s followed by 3s, no rend, 1 damage, shooting attack in combat, and a companion. And then he has the big boss chopper or hacker. Again, they've sort of amalgamated these two weapon profiles now into one. 8 attacks, respectable. Hitting on 4s, not bad. Wounding on 2s, brilliant. 1 rend, 2 damage. Anti-infantry plus 1 rend, really cool. And then obviously the Maw Crusher's big fists. 8 attacks, 4s and 2s, -1 rend, 3 damage, anti-infantry. So being that you're coming into a unit of Chaos Warriors at 2 rend. That's pretty decent. Pretty decent. So battle damage, effect. While this unit has 10 or more damage points, obviously you go from 8 down to 5 attacks. And then he has a number of abilities. So once per turn, any charge phase, destructive bulk. If this unit charges this phase, pick a visible enemy unit within 1 inch of it to be the target. Roll a d3, and on a 2+, inflict that amount of mortal damage on the target equal to the roll. If the target was infantry, double the mortal damage inflicted. So, if you charge a unit of infantry, you roll a d3 and you roll a 3. So 5 or 6 on a d6. You then do 6 mortal damage to them. Nice. Passive, smash through. So when this unit makes a pile-in move, if it charged, it can, in the same turn, it can move 2d6 instead of 3d6. 2d6 pile-in. Holy crap. That is really good. Basically, that's just going to allow you to move around that unit to a really good position. So you are going to be able to jump over that unit and basically try to tag things behind. And then at the end of the turn, Strength Through Victory has the same thing that Godra has. For 420 points, you're going to want to have at least 1 cabbage in your army because they are a wrecking machine. So yeah, pretty impressed with them. Next up, we have the Mega Boss on foot. This is the big chunky boy walking around. And a Mega Boss on foot will come in at 230 points. He's a hero, he's an infantry. Bear in mind, you can give this guy and the other one an ability, an artifact to give them +1 rend. You know, so they're walking around at rend 2. So it's quite nice. 3-up save, movement of 4. He's a big boy. And he has a health of 8 and a control of 2. Personally, I think these guys should have a health of 10, but that's just me. Melee weapons, big chopper. 8 attacks, 4s and 2s, -1 rend, 2 damage, no abilities. And then in your hero phase, it gets stuck in, lads. Pick a friendly brute unit, wholly within 12 inches of this unit to be the target. Roll a dice, and on a 2+, add 1 to the attack characteristics of the target's melee weapons until the start of your next turn. On a 2+, add +1 attack for brutes. It's so nice. Yeah, so you're going to have a big chunky unit of brutes walking around near him. Now, gone are the days our brutes going to be in units of 15. Not allowed to do that anymore. So a unit of 10 is the best you're ever going to get. Reaction, you declared a fight ability this turn. Roll a dice on a 3+. For the rest of the turn, add 1 to the attack characteristics of melee weapons used by friendly brute units while they are wholly within this unit's combat range. We got a theme here that this guy buffs brutes. So maybe if you're going to go brute heavy, you're going to want a Mega Boss on foot. And then he has, at the end of the turn, Strength from Victory with the WAR tokens. Not bad for 230 points. If you're definitely going for the brute build, you know, you'll want one of these in because there's a lot of buffs there for brutes, and that's quite nice. Now for the DJ of the band, the War Chanters, popping those beats, and a War Chanter comes in at a whopping 120 points. You gotta love to see it. You're gonna have more than one of these bad boys running around your army, so let's just love that. And another thing as well, our war chanters, they can join any Ironjaws. Which is kind of cool. So, hero, they're a priest 1, obviously because they've got their beats. They have a 4+ save, a movement of 4, a health of 6, and a control of 2. And then they've got their aeroplane traffic control sticks. 6 attacks, 4s and 3s, no red D3 damage, but that's not really why you bring them. You bring them because you can do your killer beats and your fixer beats and all that kind of beats. So the end of the turn, Rime of Destruction. If any enemy models were slain this turn by this unit's combat attacks, give this unit D3 ritual points. Okay, so throw them in combat. Smash a few people to death with your big sticks, and then get a couple of ritual points for free without actually having to do a chanting roll, so it's pretty decent. Yeah, all in all, you're going to want them. You will need them, so, you know, at least 1 or 2 in your army. Next, we have a weird knob shaman. The Crazy Knob. And a Crazy Knob will come in at 130 points. 6 save, because, you know, he's basically walking around in a cloth sack. He is a wizard 1, though. Movement of 4, health of 6, control of 2. Green Puke is now a ranged ability, not a spell anymore. That's cool. And it has a range of 10. It has 4 attacks. It hits on 2s, wounds on 4s, has no rend. It can be done in combat, and it does D3 damage. Nice. Then he has his War Staff. Has nothing to actually do with a War, but he has a War Staff. 3 attacks, 4s followed by 3s, -1 rend, D3 damage, no abilities. And then he has Brutal Power, which is a passive ability. Add 1 to this unit's power level while there are any friendly Ironjaws units that have 10 or more models wholly within 12 inches of it. So it's not multiple units. So as long as if you've got a unit of 10 within 12 inches of him, you get +1 to your power level. So you get to become a wizard 2, which is kind of good. You know, you can maybe do a little bit of shenanigans and then hand of Gork some yeeting some buffed up boys down the table, which is handy. You probably want to have at least 1 WarChan in your army. Okay, next up we have Zograk, the Anvil Smasher, who comes in at a whopping 210 points. He has a 3-up save, a movement of 4, a health of 7, and a control of 2. And he has a couple of weapon options. So he always has Skull Crushing Basher, which is 5 attacks, 4s and 2s, 1 rend, 2 damage. And then he has an option. You can have the Ward Smashing Chopper on 2 attacks, 4s, 2s, 2 rend, 3 damage, and it has its own special rule. And then the Grunter Tongs, which has also rules. So it has 4 attacks, 4s and 3s, no rend, 1 damage. So if you take the Ward Smashing Chopper, you get to use the passive rule of Ward Smashing Chopper all the time. So if an attack made with this unit, Ward Smashing Chopper scores a hit, the target has so you literally just have to hit it on a 4+. Hits the target, has a ward smashed keyword for the rest of the battle. The ward rolls cannot be made for the ward smashing unit. Oh my lord, that's so good. Basically, what that means is you run up to Nagash and you can turn his ward save off for the rest of the game. Not only that, but if you then roll a 2+ to wound, you can do potentially 3 damage to him. That is really strong. But the other weapon is, if you want to turn him into a buff unit, you have the Grunter Tongs, so you can pick a friendly Ironjaws unit in your hero phase, wholly within 12 inches of this unit. You roll a forging roll of a d6. You add 1 if you're armed with the Grunter Tongs. So you can still do this, but rather than doing it on a 4, you could do it on a 3, 3+, and you can give that unit crit mortals until the start of your next turn. Now, if you have your Clonk token, still, you can re-roll the forging rolls for this unit while this unit's Clonk token is on the battlefield. But if you make an unsaved, unmodified save roll of a 1 from an attack that targets him, he loses his Clonk token. So you can turn him into a buff unit, or you can just run around turning more ward saves off, which is hilarious. For a 210 points, I'd be turning ward saves off because it would be so funny. Next up, we have an Ard Boy Big Boss. This guy also come out when the Ard Boys come out with their update, and he comes in at 130 points. He has a 3-up save, He has a movement of 4. He has health of 6 and a control of 2. And he's hero and infantry. He has 7 attacks with his choppers. 4s to hit, 3s to wound, -1 rend 2 damage. Then he has a couple of passive abilities. So he has Iron Fist Commander. So if a friendly Iron Boys unit wholly within 12 inches of this unit uses the rally command, you can make 3 additional rally rolls of d6. Nice. Passive, get bashing, add 1 to the shield bash rolls for friendly Ard Boys units while they are wholly within 12 inches of this unit. So this, if you're going to go for a lot of Ard Boys, you're going to want to have an Ard Boy Big Boss because he buffs those shields. So if you've got a shield wall of Ard Boys of at least 2 units, maybe 2 units of 20, you're going to want to have this guy wholly within 12 inches of both. So you add 1 because it's friendly Ard Boy units while they are wholly within 12 inches of him gets +1. So that means they're going to be pumping out mortal wounds on charging units on a 5+ rather than 6+. For 100 odd points, he's pretty decent. And he can do some damage in combat. So, yeah, he's a cheap, cheerful hero that buffs your Ard Boys, which is one of your cheapest infantry units. So, yeah, quite like that. Okay, so the first up for the units are the Brutes, the classic, the best, make Brutes great again. And they come in at 200 points. 200 points for 5 models. Okay, so they are your big infantry. They have a champion, so the champion is getting +1 attack. So they got 3 up save, respectable for an orc. 4 move, you're almost like a dwarf at this stage. 3 health, you're a giant orc, and you got a control of 1. So you've got the unit is 1 to 5 as 5 models, so 1 in 5 can replace their brute weapons for a gore hacker. So it's basically the big 2-handed weapon. And the champion can't replace their weapons, okay? So brute weapons, 3 attacks, 4s and 3s. So you're now seeing where a lot of the mega boss buffs are going to come into it. +1 rend, 2 damage, and an anti-infantry +1 rend. So that's really good. So coming into a unit of infantry, you know, you're going to be rend 2, doing 2 damage a hit. Potentially 1 hitting on 3s. War is going to give them +1 attack. If Godra is in the unit, you're going to give them +1 attack and +1 a hit. You can only ever get +1 a hit, so it doesn't matter if you can stack in buffs, you're only ever going to get +1 a hit. But what that will do is any minuses to hit will then be excluded out. So it's pretty decent. The big weapon, the big gore hacker, which you're a maximum of 2 of them in a unit you're ever going to get. It's 3 attacks followed by 4s to hit, 3s to wound, 2 rend, 3 damage. Now it is an anti-infantry, which is a shame. But hey, 2 rend already. And then you've got passive, you messing. Enemy models with a health characteristic of 1 or 2 cannot contest objectives while they're in combat with this unit. So you run in and you go, what's your health pool? You can't contest it. I'm bigger and badder than you. Therefore, this is mine. My objective. That is kind of strong. Really quite strong. Next up, we got the Ard Boys. The Ard Boys are really nice now because they've actually got an Age of Sigmar kit because the old Black Orcs went back to the old world. And Ard Boys come in at 180 points for 10. They do have a champion. They have a standard bearer as well. They have a 3-up save. They move 4. They've got a health of 2. So not as big and strong as Brutes, but Brutes in the making. Control of 1. They've got a Gobber or a Sticker. 2 attacks. 4s followed by 3s. -1 rend. +1 damage, anti-charge, so anyone charges you, you get +1 rend. They're kind of like your wardens from the Lumineth Realm Lords for your Orruk's army. Perfect screen unit to have because, you know, you don't really want to charge them because they're going to give them +1 rend, so they're going to become rend 2, damage 1, which is not bad. Then shield bash, so pick an enemy unit in combat with this unit at that charge this turn to be the target, make a shield bash roll of d6 for each model in the unit, and for a 6+, inflict 1 mortal damage. So you charge them, you give them +1 rend, and then they also shield bash you. And then they roll a load of dice. So if they've got a unit of 10, they're going to roll 6d6, and then for every 6, you're going to get inflicted a mortal damage on you. So they're very defensive, 3-up save as well is pretty decent. So all-out defense will bring them down to 2 or get rid of your rend. So yeah, they're pretty solid and only 180 points as well. So, you know, pretty good. Don't churn out as much damage as a brute, but you don't really need brutes now for the damage because Ironjaws have other units. Okay, speaking of said other units, we have Grunters and the Pigs. And the Grunters are coming in at 190 points for 3 models for a cavalry unit with a 3-up slave, a movement of 9, a health of 5, and a control of 2. They have Chopper and Hacker, 3 attacks, 4s followed by 3s, -1 rend, 1 damage. Anti-cavalry +1 rend, which is really interesting to see because there is very little anti-cavalry in the game right now. So a cavalry unit that counters cavalry is really kind of interesting. They have the Tusks on the Pigs, which is 4s followed by 2s, -1 rend, no rend, sorry, 1 damage, and +1 damage on the charge as well. So that's pretty cool. So obviously there is a battle formation that will increase their movement characteristic for enemy models that have been, or enemy units that have been destroyed. And then any charge phase, if this unit charges this phase, pick 1 enemy unit within 1 inch of it, roll a 2+, and inflict a mortal damage on the target equal to the roll, and add 1 to the mortal wound damage inflicted, if any, if the target was cavalry. So they want you to charge cavalry with this cavalry unit. That's kind of cool. A cavalry unit that bullies other cavalry unit. That's just an Ironjaws way of thinking. Next up, we have the Weird Brute Wreckers. These are one of the first of the new units that we got to the Ironjaws in the last edition. The Ironjaws kind of got this little supplement, and it had a number of new units, and this is one of them. The Weird Brute Wreckers are basically, they're nuts. They are nuts. And the Weird Boys Wreckers are 130 points for 3 models. So, not bad. They've got a ward save of 5+, because why not? They have a save of 5, movement of 4, health of 3, and control of 1. And they've got the chain smashers. So, you've got 6 attacks, 4s followed by 3s, -1 rend, 1 damage, anti-infantry +1 rend. Cool. Then they've got passive, so they're berserkers. So this unit can run and charge. I'm already seeing a unit of 6 of these running and charging would be so good. Now, they've only got a 5-up save, so, you know, not amazing. But they do have a ward save of 5. So, you know, they're kind of pretty cheap as well. So maybe throwing them in. A unit of 6 will come in at like 260 points, whereas a unit of 5 brutes are 200. But these are running and are charging. So, yeah, they're worth it. They're pretty good. But what's the other one? So this obviously is a dual kit. So the other side of this kit is the Brute Rages. And these come in at 140 points for 3, which is kind of cool. Again, they don't have any ward save, and they don't really have a great save of, you know, they've got a 5-up save, which is not amazing. They move 4, they've got 3 health, they've got a control of 1. But why are you paying 10 points more than the other crazy lads? Well, let's see. So, Ranger weapons. They've got 3 attacks, 4s, wounding on 2s, -1 rend, 2 damage, anti-monster. Are you really going to be putting these guys into a monster? Really? They obviously berserk, so they can run and charge. They don't really have that over. So far, the other unit has a 5-up ward save, and pretty much anti-infantry, and a little bit sort of better than these. And then these guys have Unleashed Rage. Trying to get the points back up. Unleashed Rage. So this unit has Strike First if it charges this turn. There we go. So they can run and charge and strike first as well. They're unfortunately anti-monster. If they had anti-infantry, these guys would be amazing. Absolutely amazing. Personally, as shock troops, which is kind of what run and charge units are in an Ironjaws army, I would probably have the other guys. They're 10 points cheaper for a start, and maybe have at least a unit of 6 of the wreckers rather than the rages. But that's just my personal opinion. Strike first is fine, but you're not really going to be utilizing the anti-monster very often, because they're not going to really survive a monster, and I don't think they do the damage to kill the monster either. It's only 3 attacks, so a maximum of each model is potentially only really doing 6 damage each, and there's a potential of 3 of them, which is what, 6, 12 damage. So you're going to need a unit of a unit of 6 to potentially do 24 damage, and that is if they all hit. So, and they're hitting on 4s. So yeah, not great. The Wreckers for me is better because you want to clear out infantry. Now we have the Tusk Boss on a Morgue Grunter, and the Tusk Boss on a Morgue Grunter comes in at 300 points. He's a big boss on a pig. So you have a 3-up save, a movement of 10, health of 14, control of 5. And then he has a pig hacker, 7 attacks, 4s and 2s, -1 Ren 2 damage. Kill chopper, 4 attacks, 4s and 3s, -1 Ren 1 damage. More Grunters Tusks, which goes from 5 to 3 if you put 10 or more damage onto him. 4s and 2s, 2 Ren 2 damage. Companion. And then his Trotters, 4 attacks, 4s and 2s, no Rend, D3 damage. Then he has a couple of abilities. He has passable, unstoppable momentum. So, each time this unit uses a charge ability, it gains a momentum point. Okay? Each time this unit uses a run ability, it gains 2 momentum points. Okay? If you have a maximum of 3 momentum points at once, add the number of momentum points to this unit's damage characteristics of the Morgue Grunter's Tusk at the end of each battle round. Subtract 1 from this momentum point to a maximum of 0. So, that's pretty cool, but there's something that I'm not seeing here, which is run and charge. So if this unit charged this phase, pick up the friendly Go Grunter units wholly within 12 inches of this unit that charged this turn to be the target, add 1 to the momentum points of each of them. So basically, the Morgue Grunters are the unit of pigs, the pigs themselves, not the Go Grunter cavalry, the solo pigs, the slightly bigger pigs. Yeah, so that's okay. +1 momentum to them. The problem that I find with this is you get a momentum point for charging, cool. You get 2 momentum points for running, cool. To a maximum of 3, cool. And add the number of momentum points to this unit's damage characteristics of its Morgue Grunter Tusks. So you increase the damage of those 5 attacks from 2 to potentially 5, which is cool. And then at the end of the battle round, subtract 1 from its momentum points, which is good, to a minimum of 0. So you drop down 1. The problem is it doesn't run in charge. Doesn't run in charge. So you're never really going to run, because like there is a battle formation if you're going to take these that you'll increase your movement characteristic while units are getting destroyed on the battlefield, so they get faster. So you're not going to need to run, because you're going to get to the enemy. So you're only really going to get 1 momentum point, and then you're going to lose it at the end of the turn. Now, if it had a run and charge and there was an ability in the army to give them run and charge, that would be really good. But they don't, so you're not benefiting. And is it such a bad thing to be able to run and charge and get 3 momentum points straight away? Like, would that be such a broken thing? I mean, you are paying 300 points for this thing. You are paying 300 points. 5 damage on a Tusker on 5 attacks would be really good, but you are having to run and charge, and you're only really going to get to do that really once a turn, and then you're going to drop down. And you could offset that by literally saying at the end of the turn it loses its momentum points and goes to 0. So you could balance that out quite nicely, where it's never really going to have the momentum, that if it does run and charge, it automatically drops to 0. I just feel that you're never really going to get the full momentum of this. So yeah, not a fan. So next up we have the Morgue Grunter with a hacking crew. This is the unit. This is kind of like a pig with 2 guys on either side of it. This is 270 points for 1. Again, you have the really naffy momentum rule, but that you do have a once per turn in your movement phase. And we'll go through that in a second. Has a 3-up save, movement of 10, health of 12, control of 5. Choppers, 4 attacks, 4s and 3s, -1 rend, 2 damage. Killer choppers, 4 attacks, 4s and 3s, -1 rend, 1 damage. Tusks, which can be improved. Again, exactly the same as the Heroes version. The really, again, still got the crappy version of momentum. But once per turn army, your movement phase, carve a path. So if this unit is in combat, it can move up to a distance to its move characteristic. It can pass through models and the combat ranges of enemy units, but it cannot end the move in combat. This is kind of how power through should be worded. Then pick each enemy unit that has units passed across during the move to be the target. Roll the D3 for each target, and on 2+, inflict that amount of damage points equal to the roll. Then this unit gains 2 momentum points. You have more momentum points, which is good, but again, still no run and charge, so no. And then we have the More Grunter Gouger, which comes in at 220 points, and I believe this is the one orc on the big pig. 4-up save, 10, 12, 5, same stat profile as last time, and then you pretty much got the same combat, but you've only got one guy now, so you've only got 4 sets of chopper attacks, 4s and 3s, -1 rend, 2 damage. You still have the crappy momentum rule, but you now have once per turn army, any combat phase, flattened in the mud. If this unit charged this turn, pick an enemy unit within 1 inch of it to be the target. Roll a dice and add the number of momentum points this unit has to the roll of 5+. The target has strike last for the rest of the turn. That's okay. You know, if this unit charged, pick an enemy unit, roll a dice and add the number of momentum points. So you're going to get a maximum of maybe +1. Maybe if you run turn 1 and then charge turn 2, you're going to get 3 momentum points, but you're not, because you're going to run turn 1, which is going to go up to 2, then drop to 1, and then you're going to charge in turn 2, which is going to bring you back to 2. So you're not even on the maximum of 3 momentum points. It's a crap rule. So you're not... And then it's on a 5+, the unit gets a strike last. So the best you're going to get in that is a 3+. That's terrible. And you're paying quite a lot of points for this as well. You know, these are like 220 points. The other pig is 270 points. And the hero is 300 points. So they're not cheap units. And the entire momentum mechanic is just crap. So yeah, not really worth it. So that is the Ironjaws. Pretty cool. The big pigs are not very good. The cavalry pigs, the gold grunters, are really good. Ard Boys, really nice and defensive. Got a hero to buff them. Brutes have been made great again. And they've got the mega boss on foot as well to make sure that they've got buffs. And then a cabbage is a cabbage. You know, you're going to love them. You're going to love them. You can have a named cabbage, or you can have an unnamed cabbage. Have 2 unnamed cabbages. Even bring 3. I mean, like, for 1,500 points, you can get 3 unnamed cabbages. I think they're, 420 points per one. So you can easily fit 3 cabbages in your army, and then some stuff to hold objectives. So yeah, fun times. Quite like them. Mighty Destroyer has obviously taken a lot of changes and revisions over the editions and battle tomes and stuff. It's kind of nice. Be really nice to see if the Ironjaws get their own battle tome this edition. And really get fleshed out with a few more units. The new units that they do have, the Wreckers, are really nice. Maybe the Ragers have a place. Maybe you want to pay an extra 10 points for 3 models for no ward save and for that ability to strike first when you charge. Maybe. For me, I like the Wreckers. I think the anti-infantry role that they have is really, really good. A unit of 6 of them smashing into a screen would be glorious. But yeah, all in all, pretty impressed with the Ironjaws. If you like what I do, please like this video. Drop a comment for what you want me to do next in regards to the faction deep dives. And make sure you ring that bell so you don't miss out on any future content. And most importantly, subscribe. The channel is growing at a tremendous rate right now, and it's just overwhelming. So thank you to everybody who is subscribing, and the 83% that haven't subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button. And you can check out my members and Patreon areas as well. So thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next video, people. Goodbye for now.